These numbers are difficult to comprehend. Devastating losses. It's hard to hear so many are in these tough situations when it comes to insurance claims. Reportedly, since 2019, more than 100,000 Californians have lost their insurance. And we know insurance companies are for-profit businesses. They have to weigh their losses. Is the state doing enough to make insurance viable in California? And at the same time, is there more insurance companies can do to make coverage available to folks?
It's an incredibly complex situation without an easy answer. The state obviously didn't react quickly enough when so many insurers pulled out last year. And as you mentioned, these companies are for profit, and the regulations in California are so strict for consumers that the insurance companies decided that they just couldn't make money here. So if you think about, we represent the insurance industry. That's who we insure. If all of a sudden food prices doubled, but we told restaurants that they couldn't raise their prices, then they would go out of business. So the insurance company, the companies that were in California, were making billions and billions of dollars, but when they couldn't raise their prices because of consumer protections, they decided to leave California. That's just what happened.
Do they have any legal obligation to make coverage available, Kaya?
No, it's a private company that is for profit, and there's no legal obligation for them to do anything unless there's regulations. Like now, the Department of Insurance did finally pass a moratorium saying that for the next year, no one could leave the fire protection. But it's too little too late because they didn't do anything before this fire.
Well, there are certainly arguments to be made on both sides, but a lot of people don't have insurance, as you know, because it's too expensive. They never thought something like this could happen to them. Is there a way for people to retroactively get any type of coverage? And does the state have any obligation to help them?
From an insurance standpoint, no, there's no way to go back and retroactively get insurance. Does the state have an obligation? Not from an insurance standpoint, but just from a natural disaster standpoint, the help is going to have to come from the state and federal government, from FEMA, from private. A lot of people are just going to be stuck holding the bag, unfortunately, because you can't go back and retroactively get an insurance policy.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, many insurance policies in these areas, they were dropped. But for those who did have insurance, we know that many homes won't be fully covered, and that's going to be a big factor looking ahead. How does that play out, and what happens to families whose policies fall under that category?
You're going to see the vast majority fall under that category. Even I'm an attorney and a CEO of an insurance company. When this happened, we checked our policies and we found out that we didn't have the right valuation. So what happens is people get an insurance policy based on a certain value of their house. And if they don't update that with the proper numbers with their carrier, then they find out when they have the loss that, they might have done a remodel, or maybe the valuation was based on laws and regulations from 20 years ago. And then when they go to get the policy, they find out that they're grossly underinsured. Or when they go to rebuild, they find out that they didn't have coverage for new ordinances or new changes. So for example, if your house was built 20 years ago and then you go to rebuild, the building costs might be 3 times as much now than it was 10 years ago, and you didn't have coverage for that. So then you're left paying that delta between what the valuation that you're covered for and what it actually costs.
We only have about 20 seconds left, but I wanted to ask you, this Palisades fire, it could become one of the costliest in history because of the number of buildings and the cost of the homes. Some are estimating, as we outlined before, $150 billion in damages. How do you believe this is going to shape the insurance landscape in the future, not only in California, but all across the country?
So these companies are going to have to recoup their costs somewhere. I'm talking about the insurance companies. So their main priority is their shareholder, not their policyholders. So they're going to find ways to recoup their money. And one of the ways that they're going to do that is raising rates in states that don't have such high regulatory requirements and consumer protections like California does. So you might be in another state that doesn't even have hurricanes or wildfires, and then your rates go up because they're going to try to recoup this. And they're also going to recoup it among other lines of insurance. So if they are losing money in the homeowners policies, they might raise it in health, or they might raise it in auto. So it's going to affect this entire country. And so my call to action to everybody right now is to go to see what your policy has right now in it. Call your agent, get a copy of it, and look at what the coverage is and make sure that the coverages are up to date.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.